Yeah, I'm Tony Budden from South Africa. Hemporium, we've been involved with the hemp industry since 1996, trying to educate people in South Africa about the other side of the cannabis plant. You know, we've got a huge illicit cannabis industry in Africa, but not many people see behind the smoke screen to see the other 25,000 estimated end users. So we've made it our mission to really take it on and make clothing, make body care products. We do all accessories, that kind of thing, to really showcase the tangible side of hemp that you can touch and feel. And as soon as someone feels the value of it, it changes their perception of the plant. Because if they've only ever known it for one thing, you can give them something to touch and feel. It just immediately allows them to say, hold on, this isn't what I've been told, this isn't what I've seen of the plant, and it's a very important part of the experience. So our tagline is innovate, educate, cultivate. So we've innovated through our products. We educate through all the programs we do on TV. We do a lot of media work, and also I speak a lot at schools and universities. And cultivate is where we're heading. We're hoping to help spur legislation change in South Africa that we can grow hemp there. At the moment we can't, but it's coming. We have got a commercial trial for 3 years, a permit to grow, and we're showing the government that we can provide jobs, houses and food in Africa, which is a real need. You know, it really is. We need jobs, we need houses, we need food. It's not a first world country, it's not a developed nation. There are people who are starving, there are people who are living in shacks, and there are people who are unemployed. So it really speaks to, you know, hemp can fulfill a lot of the baseline needs, and that's why we've really seen an opportunity to create change and to enable the government, if they get on board and they buy into it, which it looks like they are, to be able to offer an eco-friendly resource that can provide all these myriad of uses.
Well, Tom, I got into alternative technology as a very young lad. I saw it as a fascinating field of activity and one that was appropriate to the kind of information that was around when I was a young guy, from the report done by MIT of the limits to growth. And that meant that we could not all have this American lifestyle, certainly not everybody on the planet anyway, and so that any lifestyle that was approaching the future with that sort of aim in mind, to use less energy, to make less impact on the planet, was a good way to go. So when I was building my own house in Ireland, I discovered hemp materials about halfway through building it, and so I decided to take a chance and buy some materials and use it as a hemp plaster on the inside of my new house. And that led to buying more, doing a job for other people, supplying materials to other people, and through that I learnt the system and learnt a lot about the materials. And I then decided that this information was of vital importance to everybody, and it was only really known then by people in France who developed it. And so I decided to write a book and spread the word, and that has led to the creation of events like the symposiums, the International Hemp Building Symposiums. It's the first one we had in Ireland. This is the second one we're having in Granada in Spain. The association has now been formed after the first symposium, International Hemp Building Association, and that's now gaining great momentum.
Explain what you have on the table.
Everything about hemp. It's all the products you need to build a house. You need earth, you need lime, you need fibers for insulation, and wool, and crete. So we are producing and selling all these products since 20 years. So it's a lot of houses already and experience. And
where are you located?
We are located in west of France and still running.
How many houses have you built?
Oh, thousands. It's more or less, we have every year is about 3,000 customers. Some customers is just a little bit, just one bag to make a small area. But when we use hemp insulation in a house, it's one truck all the time to insulate a house, and this is by hundreds every year. So it's thousands and thousands of houses in France.
And that's why 20 degrees is the optimum thing, and then I think depends of the wall thickness as well. When you have here this panel, we cannot make more than 14 centimeters.
Yeah.
The wall you can make 35, 50 or whatever you want. I put in the middle of this wall, I put dry canna bricks that
Full summer weather,
exactly. And that I also recommend to everybody who does construction with clay to do in the middle something like dry brick, that you don't need 2 years to dry the walls out, because otherwise it's 2 heating periods and till you get it completely dry. It's almost all clay and hemp, but very compact.
And
And
the canna brick is with clay too?
yes, it's
And
exactly the same.
with a bit
but
line?
yes,
Okay.
it's exactly the same, but more compacted.
Yeah, this is more compacted.
Because we are only 1 year busy with this. So I will soon put the results in my website. Okay? So it's a matter of maybe within this month I will put it in the website. The results are very good, and we know now, because we were thinking we need reinforce on the other side with concrete, but the results of the panel itself is strong enough for high buildings, because the problem is the wind. When you have 6-meter panels, the wind makes them moving, and we were thinking that this material is not strong enough, but we now changed the type of compression, and we get now a denser panel than in the beginning, and the tests are very favorable. So for the it's not needed, the reinforcement, so only for the transport. And now I will think about another system to take out completely the concrete, because I don't like it. It's not my idea.
It will be based more on your experience. Are you going to look at that like a sort of quality control?
Yeah.
If you in a real more mass construction, mass productions, you need a quality control. You want to know how much pressure you're going to put and what the density of material you
The
get.
density, I know it's about 1,300 kilo cubic meter. I think this is a good density. It's a little bit more dense than the brick, but it's also much more compacted. So when I do a low density panel, first of all I can't let it on the outside without to recover it, because it's very porous.
Yeah.
Second of all, the lesser dense, the more difficult to take a big panel in 2 days and to transport it to another place. So it has to be somehow a high density panel, and it's about half the weight of a concrete panel.
It's good. Yeah. Should I open one for you? Yes, please. So nice. I tasted the beer in States a couple of years ago. It wasn't as good as this one. Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It looks like a
My dad, he built a two-story house, and he made hemp in it, and he's still working on it, and he's gonna do some more stuff to it, like build another extension for my granny to come over and live there. Then she'll be with us. And he made our stairs out of wood, and it's stable. It's nice. And we have a sunroom as well. Another extension.
So did you help your dad when he made the house?
Yeah, I wasn't born then.
Oh, you weren't
but
born?
My sister was, but she was small. But he had his friends over, and they helped him.
Does it look different from other houses?
Yeah.
What do the kids say? Like, do they?
They say, wow, it's a nice house. Well, it's not by just using stuff from the shops. You can also make it instead of buying stuff, so you don't have to waste that much money on it. You can build it, and it's just nice. It's better.
Okay, this is the house that was built with the assistance of the NNFCC, which is the National Non-Food Crop Centre. That's a government body that's part of the Department of Energy and Climate Change, and then this house at BRE was fairly fundamental in persuading a number of housing associations that to use renewable crops along with the grants that the DEC, Department of Energy and Climate Change, was able to provide, so that this method of construction was adopted into mainstream construction on over 100 houses in the UK. Now this you'll recognise as an air source heat pump, past all the rest of the building having been rendered. So this is the only area where the hempcrete, and you can see that, fine fibrous nature, but it's a very hard, solid owl material. Conventionally, most building materials, their heavyweight structural elements tend to be fired clay, bricks, concrete and concrete blocks, and cement has a particularly high carbon footprint, along with concrete floor planks in a number of elements. So there's a lot of very high embodied energy within the majority of conventional constructions, and this is one of the significant differences with renewable materials, is their lower carbon footprint. The lack of familiarity that the mainstream industry has and clients have with these newer technologies is one of the major challenges that faces the renewable building industry, because to get confidence by those that are not used to working with such materials, we're needing to win over a lot of prejudice and a lot of risk-adverse contractors and risk-based considerations in material selection when it comes to building houses or any other form of construction. This we've largely overcome through demonstration projects such as this, but also by investing a lot of time and effort into getting third-party accreditation for fire testing, thermal parameters, acoustic parameters, and these are all the things that allow existing people in the construction industry to move with confidence into new areas of material technology. If you can't provide the comfort that the system is valid, even if you know yourself it is, it's very difficult to open up those larger markets. It's very easy to sell to the fanatical 5%, as we call them, when you're preaching to the converted and you have people who are inherently interested in going for a low carbon agenda and for using natural building products. However, the mainstream of construction and the bigger shift in how we are influencing the resources of our planet will come by providing comfort to those that are building the other 95% of construction. And that, as I say, is only going to be achieved through accreditation. Well, certainly, I mean, the one thing that we are aware of and that we hear regularly here in the UK is the carbon footprint of the American populace.
Yes.
Energy consumption and water consumption are very high on a per capita basis, exceeding every other country in the world. Certainly when it comes to building and building new buildings, that footprint will remain high, whilst concrete and other high embodied energy materials is an inherent part of the manufacture of new construction. So it does seem in some ways at odds where a lot of the Americans do seem to have an environmental interest and a desire for the natural, the benefits of natural products, and yet have such a high consumption. Adopting renewable materials would be a way of balancing those relative demands.
Here we are.
No, you got to say
This is just a demonstration piece of the build system that the house is built from. You're looking at the internal board that goes on the inside face. It gives the timber frame a racking strength initially and provides the internal shutter during the casting process. So from the outside of the building, shuttering is erected to this face. It is only a lightweight shuttering because the material is much lighter weight than concrete and generates much lower pressures on the shutter. Concrete is fluid and you normally compact it to try and drive the air out of it. With hempcrete you're trying to encourage and keep air in between the particles, and it's got a semi-fluid nature, which means that you could cast it like a sandcastle. If you had a bucket full, you could take the bucket off immediately and it would stand and hold its profile. So it doesn't need much support. And you can see the open texture and nature of the material, and that's showing the trapped air that there is in between the particles. This outside face should be rendered, as you can see on the outside of the house here. That's the normal render protective finish that's provided to a lime hemp construction. In this case, this one was out as a demonstration piece, and it's been outside for the last 2 winters. Certainly the last winter was notably one of the harshest we've had in the last 90 years in the UK, but the material has still maintains and stands up very well. As an insulation product, it's incredibly robust. One advantage that lime hemp does give to a timber frame is that the timber element is bound and not able to buckle. Normally the limit that you would have on the load-bearing capacity of a piece of timber is its length and the fact that it will bow and buckle under that load. When it's cast within hempcrete, it's embedded and prevented from moving, so you can get upwards of 3 and 4 times the load capacity on a smaller size of timber. That's something that's not recognised by the building codes currently in the UK, but a lot of work is afoot to get that structural validation and the improvement in the load-bearing capacity of timber structures working in conjunction with hempcrete.
it seems like where we're looking at trying to duplicate what you're doing here in England, that you really have to do a lot of study and a lot of coordination to get the growing, the processing, and the markets really all in line. To have one piece but not the others seems like it's pretty financially devastating.
You haven't got a business if you've got to have all three in place. We started life as Hempcore, the company Hempcore, in 1993 to do just that, to learn how to grow the crop, how to process it, and importantly to find the markets for the products. Mm-hmm. And when we started then, we had very limited markets available. We were the second company in Europe to start processing. Since then, there are 4 or 5 other companies, and actually we've joined together and formed the European Industrial Hemp Association, and that was really formed to have a voice in Brussels. And we're currently lobbying in Brussels to have some support for this environmentally friendly industry. The job of the factory here is to separate these two fractions, fibre from the woody inner core. And the woody inner core that we call shiv, it's called, I think you could call it hurd, yeah. Some of the time. Mm-hmm. And that's the wood. It's like a balsa wood type of core, mm-hmm. with a very open cell structure, and that's what makes it so absorbent and so unique. The hemp fibre is formed into a mat. This is a needle punch mat where a loose fleece of fibre goes through a needle punching machine that's thousands of needles firing down through the fibre, and each needle's got a little barb on the end, and on its upward travel it entangles the fibre. So this is an entangled mass of fibre. This mat is then impregnated with a resin to form an interior part for automotive industry or caravans or anything that requires a lightweight structure, mm-hmm. such as this. And this is an interior door panel from a car that is made with hemp fibre and impregnated with a resin. And the main advantage to the automotive industry is lightweight. It's strong material, as we know. We know that hemp is one of the strongest mm-hmm. Fibres known to man, and but lightweight is the key, but certainly for something like the automotive industry. And we hope to expand that into trains, planes and automobiles. Mm-hmm. Also, we deliver fibre into Europe for the insulation industry. So this is hemp insulation, which is as good thermally and acoustically as the alternatives. But importantly, it's a non-irritant. This material is nice to handle. And doesn't cause an irritation as some other insulation materials can. Mm-hmm. And also, over time, when this is either in the loft or in the cavity wall, this material won't collapse over time, won't go thin. It will retain its loft mm-hmm. in the loft. So those are our 2 main fibre markets. And a new market which is developing, which is very exciting, is the reinforcement of plastics with short fibres. So, and this is all about replacing glass fibre with natural fibres, and that could be a very big market for the natural fibre industry. Mm-hmm. And so we're just starting trials now with the extrusion of plastics reinforced with hemp fibre, and it's looking good.
That's great.
So those are the fibre markets. The shiv. We bale into bales of horse bedding. We have a bale here of Hempcore bedding here, which has got a very good reputation around the country and the near continent as a very absorbent horse bedding. It's very good with horses that suffer from a dust allergy and owners that suffer from a dust allergy. And also, importantly, what little is taken out of the stable after use will rot down into a fantastic compost. So it works well as an animal bedding, and all sorts of animals are on it. We've had big cats in the zoo on Hemp. We've had racing camels in the Middle East, down to the ordinary equine industry, and snakes, rabbits, to racing pigeons. So all sorts of animals.
So no problems, no issues. It works for.
No, there's from the beginning when we were developing the market. The shiv market was the easiest market to develop because the product works extremely well as a bedding. And now, of course, we've got the construction market, which is used the shiv mixed with lime, and that is sold as Tradical Hempcrete by our parent company, Lime Technology Limited. And it is building now several structures all over the UK. And in the States, and we currently have a very famous retail store here that is building a building out of hemp, Marks and Spencer's, who is a very well-known retail store, building one of their new stores with hemp. We started off with the first real commercial building we did out of Tradical Hempcrete was a beer distribution warehouse, where they have to keep the beer at 13 degrees. They had the confidence when they built the structure not to put in any air conditioning or refrigeration equipment, and the hemp is so insulative that it is keeping that beer, this thermal mass of beer, it is keeping it at 13 degrees. Wow. We hear they're saving over £1,000 a week energy cost in not having to refrigerate the building. Mm-hmm. We're really on the coming up to the crest of a wave where hemp products are really taking off around the world. Mm-hmm. Their benefit in a myriad of uses is really now being recognised, and how good the crop is, both from the farmer in a rotation system right through to the benefits in the products that we've created. There is a bale opener here for opening up the straw bales, and then it's into the first hammer mill, which is really beating up the straw. From the hammer mill it goes to a machine here. It's like a rotary tumble dryer, if you like, and the cleaned and dust extracted shiv is then sent to a silo ready for packing. And then when we operate the baling machine, that is here, where the shiv is pressed into plastic bales and automatically palletized by robot here onto pallets. So that's the shiv. The dust that is all extracted, we have dust extraction which is outside the building in these series of cleaning machines, and the dust that they produce is all brought to 3 briquetting machines here, and the briquettes are then put into these hoppers, and then it's loaded into bulk and goes to a local power station for burning with chicken litter. The fibre is then sent to our 2 refining lines, and these are here. They're built by Tamafa, a German company, and there the fibres are combed out. Again, it's all about the separation of the shiv from the fibre, and the result at the end of that is a clean fibre, which is then sent to the baling machine here, and it's baled into bales of around 200 kilos in weight. And then those bales are then delivered on full trucks of about 24 tons and sent to Germany for the Germany or France or several other European countries for the European non-woven industry.
how to grow hemp. First, you must choose a good soil.
Good soil.
Deeper soil, higher plants. Deeper soil, more water in the soil, more stocks of water in the soil, and deeper soil, more fertilizer in the soil, more heat to the plant to grow up. Then you have to work the soil. I was organic farmer and working with organic farmer. So there is two levels to work the soil. First, work a deeper work, something like 20 or 30 centimeters, perhaps without turning the soil, but you need to prepare the place for the roots to go down to the deeper part of the soil and to get water from the deeper part of the soil and to give fertilizer also from the deepest part of the soil. And then you have to prepare, we say the bed in France, the bed for the seeds. Mm-hmm. It's something like you will sow put the seeds 2 or 3 centimeters deep, not between big balls of ground, but just like some people in bed, nice, and then the moisture and the weather you must sow in good moisture conditions, not too much wet and not too much dry, and you have to put the seeds in the soil with in spring temperature, not too cold, and not by the end of the winter, but when the sun has already warmed the soil for something like 10 or 12 degree Celsius degree for the soil good temperature. Mm-hmm. Well, and then if you have you are sowing 50 almost 50 kilo each hectare, 2 or 3 centimeters deep. Then you can roll the soil to get the seeds in better contact with the ground, with the soil. And then 1 week later, all the plants are sprout out, are germinate, and you can count them, how many plants per square meter I have. 2,000 sounds good, 2,000 enough, 200 or 200 enough, till 300 plants each square meter sounds really good, and then nothing more to do. First, till the harvesting time. For a few weeks, the plant will grow slowly. She's putting roots into the soil. But now, after 2 or 3 weeks, the plant is already covering all the soil, and if there is weeds already born, it will take these weeds off the sunshine, and the weeds will die. And after three weeks, then the hemp start to grow very, very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. Sometimes with good conditions. Water with after rain in springtime or in summer, when it's the time for the plant to grow, it could grow for a few centimeters each day, and the plant will grow. Depends on the variety, depends on the wealth of the soil and the water available also. But you can have plants from 1 meter enough, and 2 meters enough, and sometimes 4 meters. But when it starts to be 4 meters, well, starts the troubles to harvest also. Depends on the device. Yeah. Then in France we used to put the seed in the ground in April, May, and September we start to harvest in September. So first we are working with a combine harvester, pick the pickup up in the upper position, just to cut the head of the top of the plant to the part who got the seeds, mm-hmm. and we harvest the seeds, and as soon as the seeds are harvested, we put them in a trailer or in a place where there is a really big press, to dry them. Here, after 2 or 3 days, then the seeds are dried, and the quality is stabilized for months, and we just have then now to clean, to take off the different dust or impurities, part of leaves or of the plants that don't required for food. For food, we just need the pure hemp seeds to press soil or to make anything else. After harvesting seeds, we are cutting the straw with a special device, a cutter. Now modern cutters are circular cutter, something like that, but it's not good. We need to work with alternative cutters. It's fingers that cut like this, because each part of device that is turning is in ability to bring with him a piece of straw or fiber, and then it's more fiber and stuck. It's stuck the device, and perhaps it will explode. So it could be damaging for this kind of tool. So only cutters, alternative cutters. We leave the straw in the fields. Well, we are working not as the majority of the farmers, but we need our straw to be dried. We need rain on it, or we need dew on it, and for a few days, even a few weeks, we are leaving our straw on the fields, and then it changes of color from green or yellow. It starts to be white, gray, and till this is a retching time. Mushrooms and enzymes from the soil, from the ground, are eating the glue that stick the fibers together and together with the earth. So Mother Earth is working for us. It starts to decorticate. It's making the decortication easier, and the fiber after the decortication more thinner if you have retted on field. Then farmers are drying the straw. So with their engine, they are taking the straw out of the ground, making some I don't know the name. Some
windrows.
Yes, and then they are packing with round ballers. And these round ballers are stored in a barn or under a roof, not to get the water to keep them dry for weeks, for months, and then for 1 year. Farmers are producing hemp from spring to September, October, and then this is a stock that we need to work for 1 year. So they are working, they are producing hemp on this year, and for the next year we are working, processing this straw. So we have to store this hemp for for some time, from a few days till 1 year, and in dry conditions. Then that's okay that's the end of the story for growing hemp.
Vintage machinery. old Smythe drill and the Nuffield tractor. I've used that to drill hemp. I'm going to use it again this year on this little bit of land because it saved me bringing my big drill round. Are you farmers or you?
No, so you have to start from ground zero or base for us.
Okay.
I'm going to pop back to the house.
Okay, thanks, Dad. Thanks a lot.
So pretend we don't know a thing about it.
Right.
That would be good.
Okay. Well, this is industrial hemp. Right.
Yeah.
And I've grown it for about 10 years, and it's used for manufacturing lots of stuff. You know about that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, we're learning. We're learning. Yeah.
And you can really drill it with any commercial drill, apart from the very high-powered air drills, which shatter the seed because the seed is very delicate, so you can, smash them if you're not careful. But little old drills with cut drills like that, ideal.
Now, when you talk about a drill, this is something.
This is for planting the seed.
Planting the seed. Plant the seed.
The object is trying to get 150 or 180 plants a square metre. About 30 pounds of seed an acre you want to drill.
Okay.
To get 150 or 160, 70 plants. Lots of thin plants, so they grow thin and
tall,
thick,
right.
and that sort of goes up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Right now.
Shall we go this way towards?
Do you want to see the drill? Have you filmed the drill? Ups, and then as it turns, the cogs turn.
Yeah.
It turns, and the seeds drop down these little spouts down into the soil, and you can. Some people like to drill them at 5 inches. Some people at 6, 7. Doesn't really matter. Obviously, you don't want to be too far apart. But the hemp plant grows so fast, it usually outcompetes all the other weed seeds. So it's used as a cleaning crop, and I think originally they used hemp to clean the fields so they can have a nice clean field. When they've got the hemp, you can drill straight into it as a clean, so it saves a lot of pesticides and stuff. So that's the old drill, and I'm using an old Nuffield tractor.
Yeah.
Pull it just. It's a tractor as old as I am, so 55. The drill is probably 70 years old, and I feel 70 sometimes. Because you can take weights off the drill, and you can add weights on to get different depths of planting.
Okay. Yeah.
And, they thought of all this 100 years ago. This was the first commercial drill. Smythe, James Smythe and Sons, Peason Hall, that's in Suffolk. It went all over the world. Every farmer in England's got one of these old wooden drills in their barn. But everything works. You put it down into gear, and the land wheel drives the thing. So it all works, and you can infinitely adjust it to get the height. I mean,
so the seed goes
drops
the
down,
chute and
down, you can, down the spout into the drill, and you can cut some off. You see, so if you don't want this one, these two going down, you just turn them like that. So they're not dropping down the things. This goes.
Okay.
Fits right in there like that. And then you put a different cog. You've got, depending how many seeds
you
want per yard,
spacing,
or metre.
Yeah.
You have different cogs.
Oh yes. Yeah.
To fit different, a small cog or
Yeah.
They got about
to make it spin different speeds. Yeah.
Different speeds. So the idea is, it's simple, infinitely variable.
Wow.
Originally these are horse-drawn.
Yeah.
And they converted them to tractors.
Yeah.
Great.
But it's the oldest drill known to English farmers.
So do you have to experiment a little bit with how fast you drive the tractor?
It doesn't matter how fast you drive. You're going to go fairly slowly, obviously.
Right.
But it's getting the right seed numbers to drop.
Right.
But you can work out if you've got 4 or 5 drills.
Yeah.
So you've got a yard wide, and you want to get 150 seeds or 200 seeds in a square yard.
Yeah.
To start with, because some of them are going to die. Yes, I'm unusual because I'm the first farmer, I think, for probably 100 years, who's left his hemp over winter. Because all the farmers have thought we need to cut the hemp in the autumn, in September, let it go on the ground to ret, which is to slightly rot, to separate the fibres.
Right.
It's called retting process.
Yeah.
So it's always been fraught with trouble, because in September you don't know what the weather's going to do. It's usually wet and bloody horrible. So leaving your crop out on the ground for a month is, you can lose the whole crop. I know some farmers who lost everything, all the crop, because they left it too long and they never did dry up, and they couldn't bale it up and get it. So I decided, especially when the factory went bankrupt one year, I decided to leave my crop over winter and see what it was like the next spring. And I did that, and it was perfect. It stood the winter lovely. It retted perfectly standing, and I went in the spring and just with a tractor and a rake on the back, snapped off at the bottom, raked it up, left it for a couple of days in March, April, while it was dry like this, like the weather now. Baled it up perfectly. And
Well, we're hoping that the hemp crop will help the farmers, because many of the farmers in the States, especially the small ones, are really struggling to make a living. And it may be the same here.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. So we were hoping to hear that it's been profitable, and that
it should be profitable until the factory goes bust. I thought it was a nice cash crop. You can grow it. You can probably get 2 tonne an acre, and you know, if they're paying £150 a tonne, £300 an acre, take off your costs, I don't know, 60, 80, £100, whatever, you're still making some money out of it. I know you've got the cartage, you've got to haul it to, unlike France, where they have a lorry from the factory, it goes out and picks it up for the growers, which is much more sensible, because then they can sample it on the farm and say, yes, this is good, this is good, this is good, that's rubbish, we don't want that, you know. Makes much more sense, instead of sending it to the factory and then them sending it back and charging the grower a lot of money for rejecting the loads. So
how about it? You know, a lot of us are concerned about the earth right now and the state that she's in, and the amount of work we need to do to take care of the carbon issues as a crop. It's
a carbon neutral crop, isn't it? Because you're growing a crop every year virtually for nothing, and it's, you know, I think it's sustainable. I mean, some people might say there are other crops better, but I can't think of another crop that grows as quick and as a strong fibre than hemp.
Is it impossible to bring the farmers together for a cooperative?
Well, they does in France. They all work in France together. I mean, but every farmer in England likes to have their own machinery and use it when they want to use it, you know. So that's the trouble we were up against. But we are working more together. I mean, I talk to other farmers, but you know, it's in the French system they have like little groups. They have 3 or 4 farmers working together, and they share the same machinery. So one owns a mower, one owns a rake, one owns a loader or something. So, you know, they haven't got to buy all the machinery themselves.
It makes sense.
It so much does, really, and they're all driving around in new tractors, so they must be doing well, you know.
Other crops, or are you just sticking with
I
it?
have rotated it, and I've also grown it for 3 or 4 years running on the same field. And the French have been growing it for 25 years on the same field with no loss of yield or pest or disease or anything, they tell us. And I can believe it, you know, because it doesn't seem to suffer from anything, really. It just grows like stink. But really, any baler, but not the roller balers, not the steel rollers, you know, because they wraps around the hemp. Wraps around. This is the hemp. This is an old solar panel that got smashed when I had my solar panels on the roof. One of them got smashed, and so they left me this one. But this is the headland. This is rubbish. This bale. But here you can see this is better. This is what the hemp should look like. And you see the fibre on the outside and the shiv. You want to hold that a second? Just see if we can get the moisture going. See, that's 11, 12, 12.1. But you can stick it in 10 different places and get 10 different readings. 8, 9, it's going up to settle down. 10.2. 8, 9. 10.8. See, that's dry. I mean, 10%, that's lovely dry. That's what they like at the factory. And that's not over-retted because it's nice and white. When it's really over-retted, it's much browner and horrible and not very nice. But that's cool. The thing you do, you get your stem and go like that. And that's the shiv dropping out. That's the centre part. Yeah.
And you're left with the fibre, which is the valuable bit.
Yeah.
That is perfect because it's strong. You give that a couple of twists, and you'll never break that. You wouldn't not break that if you're Superman. You see, if you just plant one plant in a square yard, you'll get a great big thick stem.
Oh, I see.
And lots of seed, and that's how they get the seed production. They plant fewer plants per square yard. But if you want the fibre, you plant like hairs on a cat's back, you know, thick. So you want it thick and thin and lots of and struggling to get out to the light. And they fight each other. Some of them die off because they're too thick. Sometimes they just die off, and other ones carry on growing. But the more, the merrier. Really.
And how tall does it get?
It gets 12 foot, even taller. 14 foot you can get to.
Wow.
When I'm dry, well, most of mine's about 10, 11 foot perhaps at the peak. But I've had some bad varieties. I had a seed variety last year when they went bust. They only gave us seed varieties, and they're specially bred to be shorter, so you can get the seed off easier, which was a disaster because it was like 2 foot shorter than it should have been anyway. And this year they've given us a Polish variety, so I don't know what that's going to be like.
So you have no control over what seed you
No,
get?
we're not any control of what we get. If you want seed variety, they will give you a seed variety, you know, so you can cut the seed and get the seed off to sell to them.
Yeah.
But if you just want fibre, they just give you whatever they've got. So, And you still have to pay the same price, even though the Polish seed is 30% cheaper than the French seed. Baler,
Is the type that you use for the hemp the same as they would use
normal
for like
round balers?
hay?
Hay. Most round balers will take it, apart from the roller round balers.
Okay.
The class 44, it's no good because that wraps around the bearings. It just doesn't do it. Anything that's got lots of round, things
spinning,
is not good.
So
And
you
same with
mentioned
cutting the hemp as well. With disc mowers, that can ruin your bearings on your disc mowers as well. That's why I use a finger bar cutter bar mower for cutting the hemp when I used to cut it in the autumn. But now if you leave it over winter, it'll just snap off at the bottom after standing all winter.
It's Will Taylor.
It is,
And you've been one of the first hemp farmers. So tell us that little bit that we just missed.
Right, well, what I'm saying, for farmers, it's the easiest crop to grow, to get a clean field. It's a cleaning crop because once you've got the crop off the field, you can just drill straight into the soil because it's got rid of all your weeds and, because it's virtually swamped. Like in a forest, where under the trees there's nothing growing, is there? It's the same because once you've got a 10, 12 foot high crop of hemp, nothing is surviving, even fat hen, charlock, anything, nothing, no weeds grow. I mean, they all get smothered. And wild oats, it cleans up a field. If you've got wild oats in your corn or anything like that.
I'm from Bristol in the UK. The instrument I play is called the hang. It's actually pronounced hum, and it's a Bern dialect, which is Bern in Switzerland, so this is where it comes from. It's made of steel. You can see it's hollow on the inside. And it's made by a couple called Felix and Sabina. They're based in Bern, and their history is they used to make steel drums. They came up with this about 10 years ago, at the end of the 90s, year 2000, and they've refined it over the years, but this is the one that they're making these days. This is called the integral hang. And the case, this is a hard case. I have a backpack, but you'll see that the case is made of hemp also. And it really does a good job. It's very sturdy.
not over-retted because it's nice and white. When it's really over-retted, it's much browner and horrible. Not very nice. See, the thing that you do, you get your stem and go like that, and that's the shiv dropping out. That's the centre part.
Yeah.
And you're left with the fibre, which
Yeah.
is the valuable bit.
Yeah.
That is perfect because it's strong. So give that a couple of twists, and you'll never break that. You would not break that if you're Superman.
The thing with the shift is that they have a minimum amount of fiber, and our standard is that we have less than 3% of fiber in a shift. The water will just leak out of the
Before you put the hemp down. And this is a sophisticated tool.
Board that goes on the inside face. It gives the timber frame a racking strength initially and provides the internal shutter. See on the outside of the house here, that's the normal render protective finish that's provided to a lime hemp construction. It's been outside for the last 2 winters. Certainly the last winter was notably one of the harshest we've had in the last 90 years in the UK, but the material has still maintains and stands up very well. As an insulation product, it's incredibly robust. It's much better with a blowtorch.
Sorry, I didn't bring one.
No, well, I'm trying to get it to burn, but no, it just doesn't want to.